Testing, testing. This is why my podcast got reported. This is literally why my podcast got reported.
Testing.
Hi, everybody.
It's been a while.
It's clearly been a while. Lindsay's trying to practice her
warming up
her vocal cords.
I think I forgot how to do this.
Clearly, that is very evident for the fact that no one wants to hear your singing.
I really thought we were just testing.
Oh no, this is going live, baby. No, that needed to be captured. That needs to be exposed to the world.
Oh, the things that are being exposed
to the
world.
So hi everybody, I'm Tay Sky. This is my dear friend Lindsey Rae, who's a returning frequent guest on the podcast. If you did not get the news, because you may not be following me on Instagram or Facebook, which I don't blame you. It's not a big deal if you don't, but you probably should. Mm-hmm. My podcast...
We could be friends there.
Yeah, we could be friends there, but we're not friends there, and that hurts my feelings. So thanks, all of y'all.
She's sensitive.
Yes, extremely. So my podcast came down from iTunes last week because...
So anxiety-inducing.
Yeah.
I was anxious.
Okay, first off, Chewy, you need to relax, honey.
Chewy is trying to play with this toy. We're trying to prevent him from squeaking the toy.
But then he thinks it's a game.
And it's Miko's toy, and Miko's probably upset.
Okay, let's see if that works out. There's too much going on here. Okay, so the podcast came down from iTunes last week. I got an email from Apple because it just basically said your podcast was rejected, which is terrifying because they didn't give...
A lot of episodes, a lot of work.
Oh yeah, and iTunes is the predominant way that people listen to the podcast, mm-hmm. And so it not being on iTunes is pretty devastating, and all those reviews, all those subscribers, it's all just gone. They literally just deleted the podcast from iTunes.
You couldn't even search for it.
No. It was devastating, and it came out of nowhere, and it was 10 p.m. You know what I mean? Such a bad business model, Apple. Shame on you, Apple. Shame. I'm shaming you. That's right. I'm shaming you.
Ruining lives.
Well, honestly, some people's entire business relies on their podcast. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
I know another girl. So a whole bunch of podcasts got deleted. So I wasn't the only one.
This was a thing.
This was a thing, and thankfully I posted it on Facebook, and then people... came back. I was like, oh, it's a thing.
Okay. I don't really do the Facebook.
I know you don't.
Everybody knows, so
yeah,
I didn't see.
So a lot of podcasts got swept under this search that basically iTunes has recently or at some point decided that no keywords were going to be allowed on your title or your author section.
Oh.
No keywords. So for example, if you have conversations with Lindsey Rae on life, spirituality, and social justice, anything after conversations with Lindsey Rae, they would consider that a keyword. Because the reason why you would put life, spirituality, and social justice is that so if someone's searching for life,
it will come up.
You will come up.
Right.
So what I had was reclaim, and then my author section had Tay Sky, and then it had life coach, writer, teacher. Because I want people to know right off the bat, what type of work I'm doing, what type of podcast this is.
You're such a good businesswoman. I would have never even thought to do that.
Well, I only thought to do it because I saw other podcasters do it. And I was like, oh, that's really smart. Well, those are considered keywords.
I mean, it makes sense.
So iTunes did not email me and let me know, by the way, we are going to be removing any podcasts that have keywords.
Or just an FYI to everyone.
Exactly.
If this is in your, author line or title,
you're going to be deleted. There's no forewarning.
Yeah, make
nothing.
Adjustments accordingly.
And I know people whose entire business model is their podcast, and they make money from their podcast, and their iTunes just removed, and it made me feel very vulnerable to big companies like Facebook, Apple, Google, Squarespace, MailChimp. All of my business is reliant on a few platforms, and if they go down, that can make catastrophic impact on my business.
I know.
So anyway, for those of you who are subscribed to Reclaim on iTunes, listen, follow me in one other place, okay? Not because you need to follow me, but so that if the podcast, for whatever reason,
Yeah.
comes down on one thing, you
So, like,
have
is
a different way to connect with me.
Stitcher,
There's
that's the thing,
Stitcher,
right?
there's Spotify, there's Google Play, iHeartRadio.
You can put your podcast on Spotify?
Yes, and you can listen to other people's podcasts on Spotify.
What?
Yeah, Spotify has a whole podcast section.
I feel like I'm getting like
Podcast educated, clearly.
yeah, I'm getting like a business podcast tutorial right here with you one-on-one.
Well, I charge $1 million for this.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
So just
you
Venmo
can
me.
Just invoice me.
Yes, I will just send you an invoice.
Good luck.
So anyway, so that was a whole drag. It took them like 7 days to put the podcast back up because I emailed them and I was like, what the fuck happened? And then they came back to me and said they were my keywords. I adjusted it right away. I sent it back to them. It took them 4 days to review it and put it back up. But the podcast is now online, back on iTunes and everywhere else. We're back. And so Lindsey and I are back together for a new series.
New series. I'm so excited.
So, if you don't know, if you're a new-time listener, Lindsey and I we've done many podcast episodes together on Reclaim, but we specifically did a series called You're Waking Up to Your White Privilege, Now What? And that was a conversation where we shared our journey of waking up to our whiteness, waking up to racism and white privilege.
Yeah.
And,
like a small portion of like
our
what we
experiences.
could, you know.
Yeah. We shared resources and thoughts and tools that we've learned in our grad program, because we're both in grad school, to support you in navigating your own relationship with race. So Lindsey and I were talking, and something that has been coming up for both of us recently are the conversations of gender and sexuality. And we decided, why not engage in the conversations of what we're learning about gender and sexuality, again, on a podcast. So we're having a new series. I haven't named it yet, so we gotta do something fun and cute.
What are we gonna name it?
Yeah, I don't know.
We're gonna think about it.
We're gonna think about it. But please keep in mind that everything that we share is coming from our perspectives as white, cis, hetero women. So we identify ourselves as women. We go by the pronouns she, her. We identify ourselves as hetero, as straight is the more slang word, as cisgender, which we will break it down, but it basically means that we identify with the gender that we were born in. And, you know, gender and sexuality has become more and more in the forefront of conversations. We are expanding culturally more and more our awareness of the fact that gender female, gender male is a binary that is oppressive and that erases people who do not conform to those binaries for a very long time. So it's not that the non-binary model is a current phenomenon. It has been a part of the world and a part of our history for a very long time.
Right.
But it's been erased.
And when we are talking about, you know, this is coming up and we are starting to talk about this more, we're talking about the heteronormative community.
Exactly. The mass media.
Right. Not like, oh, this is
new. This is not new.
It's not new. Just
not
like
new.
Racism isn't new and all other forms of oppression and are not new.
Right. They just may be new to the more privileged people who've never really had to engage in those conversations.
And those communities' awareness. So that's what we mean when we say, like, we're talking from this kind of, like, lens.
Yeah, and it's also very important that we specify that we are not educators in this realm.
No.
We're not sex educators. We're not gender educators. This is not our specialty. Why we're choosing to do this conversation is because we found it to be very helpful to share our experiences online for other people who may be going through something similar, and to kind of pave the way by sharing our mistakes. So hopefully we can reduce some harm that's happening through our ignorance.
And also, I think for me personally, like, I want to stretch myself as much as I possibly can outside of the indoctrinated lens that I have as a white, hetero, cisgendered human that navigates this world.
Cisgender, not cisgender.
I'm sorry, cisgender.
We'll talk about why that
is
different in a minute.
That was like a vocabulary like slippage of like my tongue. I feel like it just like rolls out sometimes. And that's another thing. We are constantly fucking up.
100%.
I fuck up daily when it comes to this particular situation that I'm trying to break out of, this lens that I'm trying to shatter.
I think what's interesting about gender and sexuality is that, when we're talking about racism, which we will talk about, we'll have a whole episode where we're going to kind of break down race and gender because you can't separate the two.
You really can't separate much.
Yeah, many oppressive systems.
Yeah.
But when we're talking about race particularly, we're talking about kind of one extreme, whiteness, to kind of another extreme, blackness. So it can be kind of helpful to engage in conversations from the binary perspective.
Because
white, non-white, white, black.
Honoring the polarities that exist.
Right.
While stretching yourself to remember that there's a whole
spectrum.
Slew of things in between those two binary statements.
But what we're doing with sex and gender is we're already operating from a binary. We are already operating from a culture that sees men in a certain way and have certain things that they have to uphold, and women, and we have certain things to uphold. And now we're attempting to move the conversation away from the binary. And so then it makes it more confusing because we're being asked to hold complexity and nuance while we're learning something new, and that can be hard for people.
I think what it is, like, to make it really clear in my own head how I kind of perceive it, is what I'm trying to do is no longer erase all the in-between.
Yeah, love that.
That's literally how I conceptualize it in my mind.
Yeah.
Because it helps me think of all of these things. One, that the binary, yes, they exist as polarized opposites. However, it's not all that exists.
Exactly.
What we've done as a culture, as a society, as like heteronormative majority, we've erased or attempted. We haven't erased. We've attempted to erase all the in-between.
Because somehow the in-between is a threat to us.
Yes.
Somehow the in-between takes away from us. And what I think Lindsey and I are recognizing in this conversation is that actually embracing the middle just not only honors the humanity of people who aren't in the extremes, right? So it sees them, it names them, which is important. And it also adds to our own experience of life. We see our lives less strictly, less
right. We can break the rigidness that we have been conforming to for so long.
Yeah.
Around like, this is what it means to be a girl.
Right.
This is what it means to be a young lady. This is what it means to be a woman.
Yeah.
And this is what it means to be a little boy, a young man, a man, whatever those things are.
Yeah.
And gosh, it's just, it's hard.
It's hard.
And necessary.
And there's a lot to this conversation. There's a
so
lot. And obviously.
Hence why there will be a series.
And even in the series, we're not going to be able to cover everything.
Just like we didn't cover everything regarding whiteness and white privilege and racism.
So we'll be including a lot of resources, people that are the ones who are doing this work, who need to be compensated for doing this work. And I'm going to be shouting them out.
People who, are sex educators.
Who are experts in this.
Experts.
Or have own lived experience in this.
Who have and share really important resources.
Yes. Yes.
Which we learn from tremendously and continue to learn from and will continue to learn from.
Yes.
So we'll always, just like in the last series, we'll have great links in the show notes to different people. We will? Well, Thais will. I don't do any of that. Hence why I only ask for $1 a month from the Patreon, which I still haven't received.
I feel like somehow you have, though, no? Haven't I, bought you something?
You should have bought me my chai this morning.
Yeah, I should have.
That's what should have happened.
$10 fucking chai.
Okay, it was not $10.
It was $7.50.
Hence, not $10. And it was large.
$7.50.
It was ridiculously expensive. It should not have been that expensive.
$7.50.
At least it wasn't a small.
At least. Jesus, what world are we living in?
I mean, we were in Santa Monica.
Well, welcome to
on Main Street. So there you have it.
There you have it.
So this is kind of all this started coming up last quarter.
We are in a quarter system in our grad school.
Yes. where we were in a child development class and we were talking all about, the stages of child development and this and that and yada, yada, yada. And I asked a question.
You did.
I asked a question about, okay, so we're talking very binary here. This is what it happens in child development as a little boy or a little girl.
Yeah.
I'm wondering what happens for little humans who are non-gender conforming, non-binary, trans,
right?
That do not identify with
the binary.
Little boy, little girl.
Yeah.
And
what is their experience in child development like?
The professor couldn't answer me.
Yeah.
So, obviously, we started discussing it in class, and we are so fortunate to be in such a beautiful cohort that have amazing humans who some do not conform.
Yes.
Some are non-conforming. We have plenty of queer folk, trans. I mean, it's such a beautiful community at Antioch, and I'm so happy that we're there. So it actually got me thinking more about why are we at this like progressive radical school, and yet
we're not talking
about this in child development,
right? Yeah.
So instead of writing a paper for my final, the professor suggested that I do a presentation.
And I learned so much from this presentation that I wanted Lindsey to share some of the information she shared on the podcast with you all. She did an extensive amount of research. And so she gleaned a lot of knowledge from resources online, and she put it together in this presentation.
Yeah, and I'm not going to go into the full presentation obviously here, but I want to, just kind of give you an overarching, very kind of top level key terms so that it's kind of the basics, a foundation. And I'm sure I'm not even getting all of it.
Yeah.
But it will give us a great place to go from.
Yes.
Throughout the series so that, we get more familiar with terminology and just how we can have these conversations,
right.
How we can be obviously sensitive and just really stretching ourselves outside of our heteronormative lens and vocabulary.
I love it. Let's do it.
So let's do it. Well, let's unlock my computer.
Growing Up in a Gender Binary Dominant World by Lindsey Rae Ackerman, she/her. That is the cover.
So,
can I just start?
Pronouns.
Pronouns.
Yes.
I'm glad. Oh, is that where you're starting?
Yes.
Oh, good. Because I was just going to say, can we take a moment to talk about pronouns?
In my presentation, that is literally what I started with. Because something that I've been really wanting to do with myself, and it's been really, really difficult because I just honestly don't fucking remember.
Yeah.
And that's hard to grapple with, why can't I remember? And why is this so fucking hard for me? Well, it's so fucking hard for me because my entire life, all 35 years of it, I have been doing it one way.
Yeah.
And so trying to learn a new way is tough.
Right.
Yeah. But something that I'd like to do for myself, navigating the world of introduction. What I started thinking about this really months and months and months ago when we started at Antioch, really, because I was meeting all of these new humans, and I started becoming aware, I can't assume pronouns anymore.
Yes.
That's not okay, actually, ever.
Yes.
And so what I'm challenging myself to do, and I think that this would be a really beautiful thing to do maybe as a community and help, each other kind of just hold each other accountable and gently reminding each other, is when we have introductions to new humans, we just say, hi, I'm Lindsey Rae, she, her.
I go by the pronouns she, her, or you can...
How about you?
Yeah.
And literally making that part of our everyday language, making that a normal occurrence.
I think it's really important that we do this, and it's a way that we can start to break down transphobia, because it's, if we put the weight of naming your pronouns only to people who don't conform, that's not really fair. That puts a lot of emotional labor on a particular group of people. And we want to start recognizing that we can't assume anything.
Because it also, what it does is it continues to play into the hierarchy of cisgender.
Like you should know my pronouns because I'm what's normal. You are not normal.
And because of the way I express my gender.
You're not normal, and therefore you have to tell me your pronouns.
Right. Which, that's oppressive.
Yes, 100%. And so wherever we can begin to name our pronouns, have it on your Instagram bio, when you're introducing yourself on social media. I do it in Worthy Women Rise, at our very beginning phone call where we have a welcome ceremony. Everyone goes around, shares their name, shares their pronouns, and where they're from. It just starts to break down this norm that we can just assume people's gender just by looking at them. And Lindsey's going to talk about the difference between gender expression and gender identity. And I think that that's really important for us to keep in mind. We should never assume. When I do my podcasts and I have a guest on, I do extensive research on them. And if it's very clear from their language that, not very clear, if they name it, if they say in their language, like I go by the pronouns she, her, that, I don't ask. But if they don't, then before our interview, I ask them, I'm like, what are your pronouns? And I've found that people enjoy answering that question because it makes them feel seen.
Also, this is another really, really important thing. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. And it's not impossible, I promise you. Listen. When people tell you their pronouns, fucking listen.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many instances I have literally witnessed, and I witness it all the time, especially at school, where we'll go around, we'll introduce ourselves.
I did it last week.
We say the pronouns, and we all hear them, and then you walk up to a group of, people, and you're like, hey, guys. And it's like, 3 guys, and then
we just want to remove gendered language to begin with, and guys is a very gendered language.
Or even like, hey ladies,
right?
And it's like all like women, and then a person who doesn't identify as a female, and even though you might think like, oh well, they were born a female, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, no,
it doesn't fucking matter.
I thought you meant like we were in conversation with someone who goes by they them. And in the conversation, I was like, well, she said, and I was referring to the person that said they, them, and I called her, called them a she. And so, we're not expecting perfection, and nobody's expecting perfection from anybody. It's just we really want to do our damnness, like to really honor people's pronouns, to really honor their identity, because
you're honoring their existence,
and you want the same back to you, right? Like it doesn't feel good if somebody accidentally mistakes you.
What if somebody just starts being like, oh yeah, Thais, yeah, him.
Right.
How would that make you feel?
It invalidates, your experience. So we just want to be really, really conscientious. And when we fuck up, we apologize and we move on.
Yes.
We apologize, we name it, and we move on.
And I think from experience, I've realized as long as you are genuinely fucking trying, people are really forgiving.
Yeah, it's like when you go to a foreign country, right?
Yeah.
Like, don't do the thing where you don't learn anything about that language and that culture. Try to learn some words there.
Yeah. And give it your best fucking shot.
And when people, recognize that you're struggling, but you're really trying to, learn their language and say their things the right way, they, want to help you.
Yeah.
But when you come in, demanding that they speak English and demanding that, they conform to you,
basically,
then it's
spewing your fucking privilege all over.
Right. It's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
So we just want to be more conscientious about our pronouns.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So.
All right. So I think the most important thing to remember is that gender, just like so many other things, including race, is a construct.
Yeah.
It is something that someone at some point was like, this is a good idea,
Yeah.
which was a horrible idea. But again, you know, going from like the hierarchy, trying to protect their privilege, those types of things. And we've constructed these ideas or theories
about what gender is and what gender isn't.
Yeah.
And so, you know, non-binary folks have been in existence as long as human beings have been in existence. But the idea of a gender is a relatively new phenomenon. So many of us think, oh, no, like women and men have been a thing forever, like Adam and Eve, or we think biological, like biologically speaking, you have to have the man and the woman. But actually, nature shows us that even in animals, the chromosomes, the X and Y chromosome, the male and female, it's still very fluid. And there's a lot of animals that show that fluidity is a thing. So like any argument that you have about how gender has to be the way it is just showing your own bias and your own perpetuation of an oppressive system.
Mm-hmm.
Because gender, 100%, is a construct, just like race.
Absolutely.
You know, just like whiteness is a construct, gender is a construct. And if you're having a hard time grappling with this concept, we're going to be talking more about it moving forward. Because, again, Lindsey and I aren't experts.
No, we're learning.
And there's so much on the internet that you can search and Google and to support you in your education. But it's very crucial that we get gender is a construct.
Yes.
What it means to be a woman, what it means to be a man, it's all a construct.
And so I think
and science is showing that again and again, like all the things that we think are man, think are women, it's all bullshit.
I mean, so this quarter in school, we are taking a human sexuality class, and for one of, you know, our reading / listening, whatever homeworks for this week, we were listening to like this podcast, American Life, and it was all about testosterone.
Yes.
And it was like really debunking so many of the myths of testosterone, you know, and it was fascinating.
Yeah.
Fascinating. So I think just for your own personal growth and development, what I have found for me and clients that I work with is to really challenge these constructs that you believe in.
Yes.
Right? It's the belief behind the construct that fuels it and keeps it going and perpetuates, right?
Yes.
So if we start challenging our beliefs around constructed thinking with everything,
100%,
you are going to propel yourself into so much growth, so much development, and become this amazing human.
Yes.
Literally.
Amazing human.
Amazing human.
That's enlightenment right there.
Absolutely.
Ultimate goal.
And again, throughout like this conversation, when we talk about our culture, we are talking about the colonized United States,
which
first
has
and foremost.
its own privilege
100%.
that I think a lot of people do not talk about. American privilege is a real thing.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, but
that's
it's
for another conversation.
It's good to know. Our culture...
Maybe a different series down the line.
Colonized United States.
Mm-hmm. So this is a very, very important thing to digest and understand. A person's sex and gender are not interchangeable. So this means that just because a little human came out with a specific anatomy in between their legs.
Oh, the words sex and gender.
Yes.
So you can't say, so you shouldn't be saying gender when you mean sex, and you shouldn't say sex when you mean gender.
Yes,
okay.
So we're talking about anatomy here.
Okay,
like your biological functioning, you know, reproductive organs, those types of things. So in our culture, we presume that gender is based on a person's sex.
Yes.
So when a little human gets born,
yes,
and it's like, oh, they have a vagina.
Yes.
They're female.
Yes.
So we base gender on the sexual anatomy.
Yes, they're female, and therefore they will turn into a little girl and become a woman.
Yes, and then we start to gender them all throughout their lives, and we force them into this construct.
Yes.
Okay. So, interestingly enough, in the United States here, it's very male-female.
Yes.
There are plenty of other places in the world that actually go female, intersex, male.
Interesting.
Which is very interesting. And I haven't done too much research on that specifically. It was just something that I was reading through lots of the literature, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, it's including something from the middle of the polarized binary view, which I was like, oh,
right.
At least it's fucking something,
right?
You know,
yeah.
So that's an interesting
concept. No,
it's an interesting fact that you can start pulling in to your own thinking process. Female intersect male. So not erasing everything between the binaries, right?
Okay.
So gender is actually part of a person's identity. And you can't always tell that. Just like you can't tell that you're a coach.
Right. Just by looking at me.
Just by looking at you, you can't be like, oh, yeah, Thais, she's the coach.
Look at her. That's what although you can really tell when some people are like into yoga. Just because they wear so much Lululemon, it's like, if you don't do yoga, what the fuck you doing with yourself?
Yeah, right. I mean, they could just really like what athleisure wear, you know?
Yeah, but you can tell. Okay? You can tell.
Oh, okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. No, I really hear what you're saying. Like, So,
like, just like, say I was a police officer.
Yeah.
And I showed up to a party, and I wasn't, in my uniform. You couldn't tell that I was a police officer.
Yes.
So again, part of a person's identity, personality, all of those things, you can't tell those things just by looking at them.
Yeah.
So that is how we can start to think about gender.
Yeah.
Because a person's gender is sometimes going to be based on not their sexual anatomy, but their expression.
Yeah.
Of their own identity. Okay?
So on the slide that Lindsey's talking from, she has 3 circles.
Yes.
And actually, I could see these 3 circles becoming like a Venn diagram, like a 3-way Venn diagram. Yeah. So one circle is body, one circle is identity, and one circle is expression. And I think that this is the most poignant part of everything that you shared. I think this was what landed most for me and what has really stuck with me and has really helped shape my understanding about gender and sexuality.
Oh, good. So within those 3 sections, body, identity, and expression.
Yes.
For some people, a harmony
between the 3
is very important.
Like, I would say that for me.
Right.
I would say that for me, my identity
as a woman,
my organs,
right,
and how I express myself is very much in alignment. Like, I want to express myself as a woman and whatever that looks like for me. Like, I like playing with my femininity and my masculinity, and like I like to be presented and seen as a woman.
Yeah. So for you, the harmony between those 3 pieces of your personhood is important. You value that.
Yes.
It is so vital that we understand
that that's not the case for everybody.
Not the case.
So some people can have identity that is not in any way, shape, or form connected to their expression. Yes. So how they express their gender, how they express themselves, does not equal what they identify themselves as.
And I personally think that this is a really beautiful, freeing
100%
part of being human.
Is that we can express ourselves in so many different ways, and it doesn't have to be tied to our genitals. And that also we can identify ourselves and really feel that we are a gender that, again, doesn't have to do anything with our genitals. Right. But I can really feel that I'm one gender, but I can express it in so many different ways. And look at what we see, in the spectrum. And that's the beautiful thing about people who are, who don't identify themselves strictly in the binary, is that you see so much creativity and joy in how they choose to present and identify and be in the world. If it's like they don't need societal's 2 very strict extremes to express themselves in the world. And I think that's so powerful.
It is. And I think it's important, to recognize and honor someone's own decision.
Yeah. And that they can change. They can change their mind at any point, anytime.
Absolutely.
They can choose to identify themselves in one way one day and then be like, you know, I'm playing and I want to go this way. I know people who do like bracelets.
Oh, right. Somebody shared that in our class, right?
So, like, they will wear a bracelet that means that day they're identifying and expressing themselves as a he, him. And then some days they want to go by she, her.
Or
and want to express herself. Yeah, so, like, that's amazing that that there's a fluidity. That we don't have to feel like this is the way I identify now forever. That there can be an ability to change our minds.
Yeah.
Because again, gender's a construct.
Right.
So we can change it anytime we want.
And if we talk about, you know, having freedom and liberation and, you know, all of these things, and I mean, why are we trying to confine our freedom?
Sure.
And our liberation as human beings?
Yeah, to like one look.
Absolutely.
Like, why can't I wear men's pants if they're more comfortable and have pockets? Why. Like, why, you know, I have a sweatshirt that I got at the men's side of American Eagle back in the day. And, like, every time I wore it, I felt like I had to, like, announce it. Like, oh, I know this is a men's thing, but, like, it makes me feel more comfortable.
And, like, but why is it we go into stores and there's a men's section and a women's section,
or a little boy section, a little girl
section.
And the little boy sections, studies show, have more things that are empowering and like you can do anything, while little girls, it immediately genderizes them and puts them in a submissive role in our society.
Well, look, and we can look at this going down the toy aisle.
Oh, 100%.
Next time you're in Target or I don't know, whatever.
Well, it used to be Kids R Us, but that's gone.
No, just
Toys
go to,
R Us,
just go to freaking Target and go down the toy aisle, and you will see, you know, you have all the action heroes. And
yeah,
like
and look
stuff,
at what we name that. We name it action, you know, action figures.
And heroes, right? And then you go to the little girl section and it's dolls, but like, you know, kitchens and like even stuff for like house cleaning, you know, that are all pink and purple. I mean, it really pushes us into these constructs.
Yeah. Well, and then it's no wonder, like for me, when I was little, I identified myself as a tomboy because I felt safer in the masculine construct and I felt more freer there than in the feminine construct. I wrote a whole paper about it in my fem theory class. It's like the tomboy persona is a way that we hide from the oppression of being a woman. And it's acceptable. Whereas boys don't have that freedom. Boys, if they act womanly or interested in more feminine things, this is how much we devalue the feminine, right? They're immediately called sissies and don't show emotions and grow up. And you're not allowed to put on makeup or put on nail polish. Like, you be a man, be a boy. Yeah. And so these are very constricting things. And the gender construct, it oppresses everybody.
Oh,
it hurts everybody.
Everyone.
Of course, it hurts.
Even the people that it's quote unquote protecting, right?
And of course, it oppresses those that are most marginalized. Of course, that's how oppressive systems work.
Absolutely.
But it doesn't really help anybody. Look at how our society is going. I can't tell you that like oppressing men and not letting men experience their emotions is like helping our society. You know, just look at Trump. Like, it's killing us. White men are more likely to commit suicide than many other categories.
Yep.
Why is that? Because they are not allowed to express themselves. They're so confined to this narrow, this construct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that we iterate again. Body, identity, expression are three different things.
Yes.
For some, they're going to be in alignment.
Yes.
For some, they're not going to be in alignment.
Right.
For some, getting into alignment is important. For some...
sorry.
Sure.
I'm questioning alignment. I'm questioning the use of the term alignment.
Yeah.
Because to be in alignment with oneself, harmony doesn't need to exist. That feels aligned for that person,
sure,
right?
Yes. So harmony puts all... alignment puts like a moral, like the goal is to be in alignment. And then if you're okay, so let's back up. Right? I agree.
Does harmony do that as well? That's what I'm questioning here.
How about in integrity with oneself?
I think integrity is like
Still-
alignment. I'm having trouble with integrity and alignment, and maybe that's just because like our coaching world, it's like a goal.
Yeah, it's
you
all
know,
and
it's,
like so that
very,
means that like alignment means.
and it has to be like this thing.
So maybe alignment can mean like whatever feels most good for you. And so sometimes having all those three be one thing is what's in alignment for you.
Yes.
And sometimes not having those three things be what society expects those three things to be are not in alignment or in alignment for you.
Yeah, because I guess
We just have to be careful. You're right.
Yeah, we have to be careful. And
Yeah.
see, but this is what happens.
Yeah.
Like you are literally getting like real time like Lindsey and Thais talk. Like
Yeah.
this is what we do.
Yeah.
This is how we learn. We're constantly questioning the words that are coming out of our mouths. We're
Yes.
constantly being like, wait, hold on, is that true?
But we're also walking through it as like two white cis hetero women who don't really know, right?
Yeah, we're
Like,
constantly hopefully gracefully stumbling.
Yeah.
But stumbling nonetheless.
Yes.
You know, through this.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I agree.
I
I
think
agree.
we
We got to be careful.
We can say
Body identity and expression are three different things.
Yes.
For some people, having body identity and expression
conform to the same
is important, and
Yes.
for some it's not important.
There we go.
And we gotta
There we
be
go.
very conscientious of that.
Yes.
And not, when we look at somebody, expect that that person is expressing their identity or expressing their body. They could be choosing an identity and choosing an expression that's different from each other.
Absolutely.
And
that's an alignment for them.
And that's an alignment for them, and it's brilliant and,
And
beautiful,
perfect
and we
and
want to be
wonderful.
celebrating the fuck out of it, because it is those people who are really paving the way for the rest of us. You know what I mean?
Well, they're helping us open our fucking eyes.
Yeah. And it's a huge burden, painful burden to break oppressive
In
systems.
our world.
It's horrendous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay. So this slide, I'm actually going to make sure that I give to Thais so that she can upload it and have it in the show notes, or
Yes.
at least the link to the site that I found it on.
Yeah.
This was actually given to us in Q1 in one of our first classes called Society and the Individual, where we really took on a lot of things of all the isms and
Yes.
obias and things like this. So this
Yeah.
is called the gender-bread person.
Get it? Get it? Instead of gingerbread, it's genderbread.
Yeah. And instead of like the gingerbread man,
It's a person.
it's a gender-bread person.
Because remember, we're trying to move away from genderizing language. Because
Yeah.
gendered language upholds the construct.
So it's this cute little outline of this genderbread person, and you'll see it in the show notes, so you'll understand more. But it basically breaks down the kind of main ideas of somebody's sexualized.
Well, it basically breaks it down
Self.
into identity, attraction, expression, and sex. And this is something we didn't talk about in the previous slide, which is attraction.
Yes.
So who you are attracted to.
Has nothing to do with
Has
your
nothing-
identity, expression, or anatomy.
Exactly. You can't assume that someone's anatomy means that then they're attracted to our heteronormative society. And I think we're opening up more and more to attract, like understanding on a mass level, more and more attraction than any other of these.
Yes.
Right?
I think so.
I feel like the mass media it's becoming more and more normal to be, gay, to be lesbian, to be queer, to be on the spectrum. I feel like that's more normalized than any other of those four things.
Okay, again,
Identity, expression,
I think we
sex.
gotta be careful about how we're using language around this.
Okay.
The privileged heteronormative community
Yeah, the mass
is becoming
the masses.
more quote unquote accepting.
Wow.
This isn't becoming more normal. It's always been somebody's normal. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Right?
I do.
Like, this has always been around. This has always been, therefore, normal.
Okay.
We, as the privileged oppressors, have demonized it and tried to make it not normal.
I see what. Yep,
okay,
you're right. You're right. Yeah.
I'm really trying to catch us all here.
I appreciate
today.
it because
and it's tough. And also, this has been on my mind for months and months and months and months. So this is me, really working at this, and I don't always get it right, and I don't always catch everything.
What I like about this slide too is that it kind of breaks down who you're romantically attracted to and you're sexually attracted to.
Which I think is this really insightful personal phenomenon that I'm having inside my own head right now.
We were just talking about it as we were in Costco.
Yeah, where like I can kind of look back on my previous relationships, throughout my life, and like I'm like, wow. While I, think I have like a quote unquote type, like sure, there's like certain attributes of like a person that I'm like attracted to. I like look back at all of my relationships and how different not only the people that I've been with have been and are, but how differently like they look and like very interesting. And but, I mean, these are the types of conversations.
And we should have a whole episode on sexuality, because I think we're focusing a lot more in the series on gender.
Yes.
But I do feel like it's important to also talk about. And it's an
intersect. Like, I mean, we'll talk about it, you know. Okay, so just to recap an overview, gender identity will come from a person's mind. It's something that they identify with in their mind. Gender expression will come through the way they present themselves in the world. So, for instance, the type of clothing they choose to wear, if they decide to express their gender identity through that vehicle.
Yes.
Someone's sex is based on their oh my gosh, I can't say anatomical parts.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yes.
Anatomical.
Anatomical.
Oh wow, there we go.
You're getting a lesson from a Brazilian immigrant, so.
I mean, I just don't even know.
I'm just saying.
And then attraction comes from within our heart.
I'm feeling right now, I just want to name something that I'm experiencing literally right now.
What?
Like a lot of discomfort in my ignorance. Like I'm noticing like my words feeling very slow coming out of my mouth. I'm feeling very aware of like people potentially judging me who are listening for my ignorance. Yeah. Like I should know better. Like I shouldn't be making mistakes. And I just want to name that that's really a part of my experience right now. Like I'm like, I feel like I should do more research and learn more about this before I talk about this. Like I don't want to fuck up. I don't want to cause harm. And so I'm noticing myself constricting and wanting to be silent and wanting to like just read the PowerPoint, you know what I mean? And like not talk about anything outside this little slide so I don't fuck up. Yeah. And so I just wanted to name that and recognize that that's here.
I think this is a really beautiful, insightful thing to maybe do more of.
Yeah, naming what's
coming up for us, because when I am questioning our language, I am feeling like, I don't know what I'm talking about, so why am I acting like a know-it-all?
Right? So you're the opposite of me.
But I
want to be the know-it-all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm like, oh, fuck, like, who am I to sit here and, like, have this conversation like I know what the fuck I'm talking about, you know? And at the same time, it's like, yeah, it's hard, but we got to do it.
Yeah, and for me personally, it is continually talking about it and stumbling over it.
That's the only way we
integrate, because just reading about it online, do you know how many articles and
you can
books
intellectualize
and
shit all day long.
I've read, but it's by talking about it that helps me to really grapple and learn.
And I find that that's most people are like that.
Well, and I also feel embarrassed. I feel embarrassed that I've been participating in this culture.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah, and I don't want to victimize myself here. So it's not that I feel bad. I just feel embarrassed that, like, wow, I'm really not knowledgeable in this, and that's a sad reality that we live in.
Especially, I think, also, you know, as we are in, like, this really amazing school that's, like, we're surrounded by so many, like, beautiful humans who are so fucking courageous and willing to, like, step out of the quote-unquote fucking norm and, like, live their true lives and true selves. And, like, we're building, like, relationships with these amazing fucking humans that we really fucking care about.
Yeah.
And, like, we don't want to hurt them.
We don't want to,
like, I don't
wrongly
fucking
pronoun
hurt
them.
somebody that I care about, and, like, I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the human experience, that, like, if we get more accepting of the fact that, like, that's gonna happen, and give ourselves a little grace, like a little grace, like not too much, like you're talking about, like, I don't want to, like, play the victim here, right?
Yeah, we don't need to coddle my feelings, but I certainly want to name them because they're a part of my experience right now. I don't need to center my feelings at the wrong time, but I feel like right now
is not the wrong time,
an appropriate time
it's totally
to be
appropriate.
Naming it because it's coming up for me.
And I also think this will help. You know, hopefully everyone that's listening, like
the two
people that I think, I'm still convinced that, like, 2 people listen, you know.
Except the fact that, like, You're Waking Up to Your White Privilege Part 1 is the most listened to episode that the podcast has had.
And she'll, like, send me screenshots, and, like, all of you beautiful humans who, like, send her beautiful messages, like, on Instagram and, like, through her website of, like, oh, you know, you and Lindsey Rae, like, love, blah, blah, blah. And so she'll, like, send me all these screenshots. And I'm like, yeah, you made that up. you Photoshopped that shit or something. I know you. I'm on to you. But I think what this does, hopefully, for all you beautiful 2 humans who are listening, is that it will help you start to build your own awareness and remind you to, like, be reflective of your own inner experience that's happening when you're going through this process of stretching yourself, you know?
Yes.
So I think we should probably do a better job of that. So thank you for
you're welcome
bringing that up, because I think it's important.
Well, we're gonna keep talking about this. We have at least 5 episodes mapped out.
I know,
so we got lots to talk about in this realm.
Yes. So very quickly, just on gender identifying terms. So I just did a quick Google search, and I found so many, like, lists and lists and lists and lists. Like, one list that had, like, 112 different terms for gender identity. And something that's I thought was great, and definitely by no means, like, you know, oh, we should be, like bowing to Facebook for anything, because they're so terrible and problematic for so many different reasons. However, I'll give them some kudos, I guess, for this. Some points. Kudos. Like, what is a fucking kudo, by the way? I just said that word, and I'm like, what? I don't even know what the fuck that means.
We are going to define what a kudo. We are going to
Siri? Siri, what's kudo?
No. She does not recognize your voice. Okay, what is
a kudo?
Kudos.
Like,
I mean, kudos means praise and honor. Compliment or congratulations.
Where the fuck did that term come from? See, this is what happens when you start questioning everything. From Greek. You literally start questioning everything that falls out of your mouth. It's not a
plural form, so you can't say kudo. Kudos is the whole word.
Kudos.
There's no singular form kudo.
Oh.
And that the use of kudos as plural, as in the following sentence, is incorrect. He received many kudos for his work. So the correct use is he received much kudos. So you talk about it in the singular, even though there's an S.
Okay, well, there we have it. So, all right, I'll give Facebook some points. How about that for this? When you set up a Facebook profile, which probably most of us have done years and years and years and years ago before this ever happened, there is now a list of 58 gender identities for you to choose from.
That's really great.
In your profile, which I think is amazing. So this is just some, like, you know,
we're just going to throw out some words.
Yeah.
And if you don't know any of the words, you, my friend, are going to have the amazing opportunity to go Google them.
Yeah.
And learn them.
So, trans.
Gender nonconforming.
Cisgender.
Gender fluid.
Neither.
Non-binary.
Two-spirit.
FTM.
Gender variant.
MTF.
Gender questioning.
Two-spirit.
I just said that one.
Damn it.
Pangender.
Androgynous.
Gender nonconforming. Did you say that
Intersex.
one already?
Yeah, I said that one already.
Genderqueer.
Bigender.
Transsexual.
Androgynous? I think we got it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Those are just a few that I had on this slide, just to give, kind of like a little bit of, what happens. So this is a little interesting tidbit. Norms around gender expression change across societies and over time. One need only consider man wearing earrings or women having tattoos to see the flexibility of social expectations around gender. Even the seemingly intractable notion that pink is for girls, blue is for boys, is a relatively new construct. Prior to the mid-20th century, pink was actually associated with boys' clothing and blue with girls.
Because blue is softer. Pink is more like red, which is about violence. And
so I think it's when we start thinking about, these constructs around gender identity and the terms that we use, I think it's important to recognize the progress that is happening in mass kind of like media world sort of situations, because everything can start feeling a little depressing, to be honest.
Yeah, 100%.
When you start being like, how fucked is our world kind of thing.
Well, and I think what we want to move into the future is not that men are now going to be able to wear skirts and that women are now going to be able to put their wallets in their back pocket or whatever. I think what we want to move into is that men can do whatever the fuck they want, women can do whatever the fuck they want, and oh, by the way, not everyone identifies as men and women, and that's also amazing.
Right, and what's funny is
right, it's not like reversing. Right. It's not about just like changing the binary, it's about removing the binary.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, so because this was for a child development class, I did talk a little bit about, how children develop and at what ages they start, identifying with gender and things like that. So just given the prevalence of the gender binary in our society, children face great pressure to express their gender with narrow, stereotypical definitions of boy or girl. Expectations around expression are taught to us from the moment we are born, even before gender reveal parties.
Oh my God. Okay, what was the meme that we saw?
Oh my God. So parents have a gender reveal party.
Yes.
They pick up a box, and underneath the box
is a bowl. With
of
water. They're gender
fluid.
It's fluid.
Yay! No pink, no blue. Okay, so from the moment they are born and even before, and then communicated through every aspect of our lives, including family, culture, peers, school, community, media, and religion. So children really start developing their ability to label their gender by groups as young as 2.
Wow.
So they can say, I'm going with the boys.
Yeah.
That's a group, and they're labeling that group gender. So 25% of children use gender labels to identify people by 17 months.
Wow.
68% by 21 months.
Wow.
So we are, it's so young.
It's, and like, I think we're going to spend an episode talking about like our own experience with gender. I think that will be an important conversation. So let me write that down real quicker so
Absolutely.
I don't forget that.
I think that will be very interesting.
Our own experience with gender. Because I think that's really important to just explore for ourselves so that, people can maybe open up and explore their own. But I do think it is just so wild how early the indoctrination is.
Oh,
I was
so early.
At a beautiful gathering, and there was a little baby there, and one of the mother's really, really good friends. The baby is baby Dylan. And one of the mother's really good friends, like, I need to get pregnant soon so I can have a little girl so that they can date.
Oh, wow.
And, we do that. We're like, he's going to be such a ladies' man.
It just comes out.
As like a little baby. So
and we have no idea who this human's going to be,
and
what their interests are.
Sexualizing them.
What their gender identity is going to be, or expression.
We're sexualizing them. And so you may think, but that's not a big deal. It's just a little comment. But it's not.
No, it's a way of objectifying.
It is. And that comment comes from a bias that then impacts our behavior. And so then we treat baby Dylan different than we would treat baby that's female sex. And then this is something that I've been grappling with. Okay, baby Dylan. Like, do I call baby Dylan a he because baby Dylan has male sex? But do I respect the fact that his parents, baby Dylan's parents chose the pronouns he, him, so do I respect the parents' pronouns until baby Dylan chooses their own pronoun? Mm-hmm. So when I was in the presence of baby Dylan, I just kept calling it baby Dylan, and then I would call baby Dylan there and them as much as I possibly could, because I feel like that's what I want to start doing nowadays. If I don't know, it's them there.
Yeah. I mean... But I don't know.
Yeah, it does get complicated when we're talking about children.
Agreed.
Because our gender so wants to push them onto the binary.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about children. I'm really hoping to have the mother of Raising Zoomer on the podcast. I haven't even reached out to her, but I really...
I think the time is now.
I think the time is now. You're right. Okay, so there's an Instagram account called Raising Zoomer, and it's about these parents that are doing gender creative parenting. So it's not gender neutral. They call it gender creative.
Right.
And baby Zoomer does not have... goes by the pronouns they, them, as chosen by the parents. The parents have chosen the pronouns they, them, are raising this child as gender creative. So they dress baby Zoomer in...
So very fluid.
Very fluid. No one knows the sex of this child except the closest people to baby Zoomer's life.
What their sexual anatomy is.
Yes. So no one knows...
No one knows whether this child was born male, female,
no
intersex.
One knows.
Right?
And their Instagram, no one knows. And so you have a hard time. You can't really genderize the child. And I'm really sitting with why I want to keep calling baby Zoomer a he.
Well, what do you think? Hello, patriarchy.
So anyway, check them out on Instagram.
Just like you wanted to call Pickle the plant a he, and I was like, excuse me.
I have a plant named Pickles.
And all of a sudden, you start getting these text messages from Thais, and she's talking about pickle and
pickles. It's a plural.
Pickles. She's talking about pickles and using the pronoun he, and I'm like, excuse me, why is Pickles a man?
Yeah, why is Pickles a he?
And she was like, I don't know.
So we chose they them for Pickles.
Hello.
It's just gender language is everywhere, and I think that's one of the big takeaways that I want all of you to sit with. Is just start to notice and recognize how often we use gendered language.
Your mind is going to blow.
Hey, guys.
Oh, man. Oh, boy.
I said it, too.
Always the freaking male perspective. So now I'm like, oh, geez. Sheesh. No, I swear. When I feel like
sheesh out loud, you say sheesh out loud.
In text.
Oh, okay.
Text, it's sheesh a lot. Oh, geez and oh, gosh, that's what I use out loud.
I think geez comes from Jesus.
Every time
so
I want to say...
So is that like Christian privilege?
I don't know, but geez isn't Jesus, so...
Lindsay's changed... Bless you, and God bless you.
Gesundheit.
To Gesundheit, because she has German heritage.
I have some German heritage, so I feel like, instead of saying bless you, maybe somebody doesn't want to be fucking blessed by me.
Or God.
Or
Maybe
yeah,
that's a disrespect for atheists and agnostics.
I mean, so I don't know. So I'm just like, I'm trying here.
Anyway, we're not trying to say like you can't say anything.
But stop saying "oh man" and stop saying "boy." You know.
But we are inviting just a deeper awareness into the language that we use. Yeah. We're probably going to have a podcast episode on ableism and all the ways that we use stuff like blindsided
or stir crazy
or I'm paralyzed
by whatever.
Yeah, so we're going to have the whole... It's just that language is important. As we stressed in You're Waking Up to Your White Privilege Now. Like, language and the way you use your language orients you in the world. And so if gender is a construct, it is a construct. But let's just say if it is a construct, then the best way to dismantle the construct is by changing the language.
100%.
And so
we do what we can.
Let's begin by starting to question the language that we use and why we gravitate towards certain genders. Why did I gravitate to being a tomboy and found that more acceptable than owning my femininity and owning myself as a woman? We're going to have a whole episode talking about womanhood and womanness and the non-binary. So that's coming. We're going to have some guests that are from our cohort to come and talk about gender. This is an amazing individual who considers themselves non-binary and has very graciously and happily chosen to be on Reclaim, to do some educating and to have some real confronting conversations.
And also just like having a great conversation, just like the three of us and becoming friends, and hopefully we'll get a lot of their insight on what it's like to witness two chicks fuck up left and right, and them continue to hold such like gracious space for us, and what that's like.
So we have great things coming up for this series. We're really excited about it. This is obviously something that is stretching Lindsey and me tremendously. So we're very grateful for all of you for your graciousness and our learning. Is there something you wanted to share in those resources that you have on the floor?
I think I have so many resources, y'all.
Well, we can share it in a different episode if you feel like it's more relevant.
There's I can keep going and going and going about all of this, but what I'll do is I'll be more prepped, I think, for the next couple of episodes.
Yeah.
And I can talk about these resources in a much more concise way.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that this is a good starting point.
It's a good taster.
I think so. I think what I'd love to leave everybody with is this notion of challenging your beliefs around the constructs that we've all been indoctrinated with. And and again, we are talking about gender. We're highlighting gender here, but I'm also not stripping away the fact that so many other intersex play into gender. And even when you were talking about raising Zoomer, I'm thinking about the fact that that this family is white. You know,
and very privileged.
And so privileged, and the fact that
and from a higher socioeconomic class that allows them to be able to to have this ability to do gender creative parenting in this way.
Yeah,
and they are also very
just miss that.
Yeah, I agree. And they're also very social justice oriented. So they do talk a little bit about it as well on their Instagram.
Yeah, the fact that the reason why they can do this.
Yes, to the extent to which they do.
Right.
Because again, it's a spectrum.
They hold a lot of privilege.
Yes.
So, the privilege gives more freedom.
Yeah.
So I think it's just really a good thing for us to continue to note. But yeah, I'm hoping
and I think that's very true, considering the fact, I feel like it's important to say that Black trans women are one of the most oppressed and marginalized identities that one can carry, and they're being killed at astronomical rates, and they are victims to
so you know what
poverty and hardships and abuse in significantly higher numbers than other identities.
So what I'll do, I actually on quarter one, was it quarter one that I did?
Yeah, we wrote Psych is Liberation.
So I did a research paper on Black trans women. So what I'll do is I will give Thais that paper as a PDF, and I'll have her
I'll put
it in the show notes.
Yeah.
And it's not an extensive research paper. It was, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 pages maybe, somewhere in there. So it, again, it's really just the tip of the iceberg.
Yes.
However, it's a great starting point to familiarize, educate yourself about. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'll do that.
Yeah. Okay, great.
Oh, Lord, putting my academic... Oh, that's scary. Oh, I hope it was a decent paper. Oh, jeez.
So we got a lot more...
For the greater good!
We got a lot more coming for y'all. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Please go do your education. Oh, there was one other thing I wanted to add as a homework. Let's take this like beyond just the mind level for a minute, beyond just language. And like, what if part of the homework assignment is to play with your own gender identity, gender expression, and like
question it, right?
Question it.
Be curious about it. Like, did this come from me or did this come from the outside world?
Yeah.
Am I comfortable with my identity and expression?
Yeah, like play with going to a different side of the store and trying some clothes on and seeing how that feels and how that fits. Like, let's like explore. If you're really like, if you are like me and like Lindsey, who your identity is a woman and you're proud of that, it's like, great. And what can it look like to expand? Sexuality is another one. Have you ever experienced sexual desire towards other women, for example, if you're straight, and like question that. Like, do you feel like maybe if society wasn't so strict that your sexuality would be more fluid than it is?
Yeah, like where is your rigidness? Where did that come from? Also looking at, again, like just like your social circle and like, am I friends with all straight, hetero, cisgender, and questioning, okay, why is that?
Yeah.
What are my personal biases and, prejudices that...
We all have them.
All of us.
Have them. We all have...
And we all have to continue to check them, question them,
and make sure, just like what we talked about with white privilege, that we're not relying on non-hetero people to educate us. Like, it's not their responsibility to educate you on what it means to not be straight.
It is a gift when they do, but it is by no means
there are
should
a
be
lot
assumed.
Of articles online to learn from. There are so many people who are doing this work, who are educating. Follow them, pay them.
Google is your friend.
Erica Hart is... one of the individuals
sex educator,
and the resources that they have online is just really amazing. I mean, they pour their hearts on Instagram, all free. So compensate them.
She, they,
I believe.
Right?
Yes.
Pronoun.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right. So we're off. We'll be back soon. Sending all of you tons of
love
as you navigate this. Thank you for being with us, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye.